show. I'm actually here with some of the people who are making sure that everything is running correctly for the St. Cloud Regional happening. Well, as we're kind of speaking, teams are coming in and setting up, but Friday, Saturday, that's the actual game. So I'm actually going to let them kind of introduce themselves. So if you want to just introduce yourselves, that'd be great.
Hi, my name is Kayla.
I'm Anna.
And I'm Charlie.
We're from Team 4607.
Okay. Oh, perfect. So, um, with that being said, I mean, what got you guys before we get into St. Cloud and all that fun stuff that's happening? What Let's talk a little bit about the background of robotics with you guys. Like how'd you guys get into it?
Well, for me, I was in FLL when I was really young, and when I heard that Becker had a robotics team, the team captain actually got me involved, and I was super interested. The team is really great and has a good culture, so I decided I wanted to do this for the rest of my high school career.
I'd always heard of robotics through freshman and sophomore year, but I never actually joined until junior year when I thought maybe I'd have time for this, or maybe this would be something that I would be into. And then I joined and I found my place on the team, and it's been super fun.
I'm a sophomore this year and it's my first year. My older brother, he's been on the team for about 3 years. So I got to see him make friends through the team and do some kind of cool things that I wanted to have the opportunity to be a part of.
Hey, no, perfect. Now, I guess before we get again, just doing some, we'll call it housekeeping, but before we get into the St. Cloud events and everything else, how has this season gone for you guys?
It's gone really good.
We went to Iowa Regional this last week, and it was our first regional win in over
11 years.
Yeah, so that was super exciting. It was our first time being there, and on the build side of things, it went really, really well. We had almost no mechanical failures. Any we did have were very, very insignificant. So it was great. We came away with engineering inspiration too. So that's awesome. We qualified twice for Worlds, and we're looking forward to showing up there.
That's fantastic. And I'll say this, that's actually the no complications are not, walking away with a functioning robot. That seems to be kind of a rarity with this game. It seems very, very very collision based this year, as I've noticed. No, but that's fantastic. So your first win, and well, the team's first win in 11 years. So I mean, how was that, I guess, celebration? I mean, were you guys able to kind of sit back and be like, okay, yeah, we're celebrating or something?
Well, I mean, I know for me, when I found out, I absolutely lost my mind. Just waiting, the anticipation of waiting for the final score, that was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That was the worst part of the entire regional, was waiting for that one moment. And then the absolute best part of the regional is when we found out that we won.
And we focused after we stopped winning regionals and stuff, we kind of focused our attention to getting to Worlds by engineering inspiration and impact and stuff. So the fact that we won with the robot after getting second or third place for literally 10 years was amazing and kind of shocking.
No, that is so awesome. Now, so you guys were in what regional were you in again? Where you won?
That was the Iowa Regional.
Iowa. Okay, so what drew you guys to Iowa? Any idea, or is it just hey, that's where we were going?
I'm not entirely sure what it was that made people decide to go to Iowa this year. I know GNR has been one we've gone to in the past. We didn't end up going this year, so Iowa was kind of
Our coach was just very excited about Iowa. So.
Yeah. I think he encouraged us to choose Iowa because we haven't gone before. So it is a new experience, and maybe some new teams that we haven't really worked with before.
Yeah, there were definitely a lot of new connections being made in the pits. That was really fun.
Okay, and let's talk about that for actually a hot second there. So traveling to Iowa, I mean, you're like you said, new connections, everything else. I mean, is it as friendly as at least what I've noticed here in Minnesota and North Dakota, where everybody is very open and friendly, and it's very easy to go and talk with folks? Is it still like that everywhere else?
Yeah, it was very, very friendly. It was different because they're different relationships than we're used to. We've gotten to know so many of the teams around us very, very well. And being around new teams is really exciting. And it allowed us to create a lot of new friendships that we hadn't had before. So it was different for sure, but not better, not worse.
Okay, no, perfect, perfect. Now, talking about the St. Cloud regional, I mean, you guys are riding a high off of your last regional going in. I mean, what has the uh, practices or the build times or anything like that? What does that look like from your last regional to, this week?
Well, I think there's definitely a lot less stress since we already got our ticket to Worlds. I talked to the build lead and he goes, "It's so nice." He said it's really nice going into the regional without having the pressure of, "Oh my gosh, this is our chance to make it to Texas again." He said it's a really nice being able to go in there and just like play our best, but still know that that we get to go to Worlds regardless.
And then for the other side, Charlie and I are on Impact. So our goal is basically to win Impact. And since we already won Engineering Inspiration, all we basically want to do now is win the actual Impact Award since we already qualified for Worlds. But there isn't like a crazy amount of stress. Like if we don't win, we can't go to Worlds, that kind of a thing.
No, perfect. And actually, you brought up Impact. Could you just explain a little bit more of what Impact is for people who might not know what that is?
Yeah, Impact is the most prestigious award you can get at a regional and at Worlds, I think. And you have to put in a bunch of resources and stuff. You write a 10,000 character essay. You answer a bunch of questions under 500 characters, like 10 or 11, something like that. And then you give a 7-minute presentation and answer 3 minutes of questions in the judges' room. And then also judge talking in the pits goes along with that. And all of that combines to the judges pick one team they think made the most significant impact on the first community. And then they get the Impact Award and they get to go to Worlds.
Okay. Oh, perfect. Okay. Now, in that, in those questions and everything else, are those pretty standard if you've done Impact before? Like, oh, these are the same questions we had last year, or is it all different type of questions, or is it different from event to event?
I've never been asked the same 2 questions.
Oh,
Like every year, like last year when I presented, the judges asked different questions than they did this year in the room. And then judge talking, it's always different. Like they could come up and ask you about safety or like build and stuff, but like you never know.
It's nice because they get the opportunity to ask about things they're curious about. So even presenting this year, it was nice to see some of the questions they asked were tuned more to the things we talked about in the presentation, and you could tell they had an interest in that. So it's nice because we get to share what they like to hear about too, instead of just what our team is doing.
okay. Oh, perfect, perfect. Now, uh, St. Cloud is the first time this regional is happening. What to you guys, how important it is, how important is it to, be at this regional and everything else?
I think the reason it's most important to me is because all of the other regionals we've gone to are really far away, like for my family and friends. And now all the people that I talk to about robotics can see what it is that we actually do and what I'm dedicating so much time to, what I'm so passionate about. So it's really important to me that way, that I get to bring the people I care about to the thing that I care about, and they all get to learn, and I get to tell them about robotics, and hopefully even get more people involved in robotics.
Mhm.
I know for the team too, it's also a very big deal because we created a hub, a robotics hub around us a while back. And then we also helped to create an event called Jumpstart that happens every year. And both of those things kind of help to demonstrate that St. Cloud is a good place for a regional. So it's been a long time in the works, and seeing that it's finally coming to life and we've got 50 to 54 teams coming out. It's really exciting.
Um, Now, when it comes to those 54 teams, uh, any teams that are coming from locations that surprise you, or is it all pretty, in the Minnesota, North Dakota region, or is it all over the place?
Well, to my knowledge, it's a lot of the teams that we're familiar with, teams that we would either see at like 10,000 Lakes or yeah, right? Yeah, or like GNR. It's I kind of like it because it's like it's a lot of the people, like Charlie said, in our hub, and that's what I think makes it so special. It's because it's the teams that we get to work with, and we're just constantly like not one-upping each other, but like we're making each other better, like by like cooperation.
Okay. Now, so you guys have kind of, I mean, like typically, like my last question is always like, oh, what's the end goal for everything? And typically everybody's end goal is like, hey, we want to go to Houston, we want to go to Worlds and everything else like that. You guys have already punched that ticket. Um, what is the end goal for you guys when it comes to this weekend?
I think it's actually nice not having to reach that goal of going to Worlds again, because we get to like relax and have fun with each other. But like my personal goal is to win Impact, obviously, like and just like meet new people and have fun and just everything goes smoothly like it did at Iowa.
Yeah, I'd say I think the team's goal, or the majority of the team goal, obviously, I'm not trying to discredit your goal because obviously that's the goal we all want, is to win Impact. I think because we're like the host team, we want to make sure that everybody has a good regional. But I mean, that's what, to my knowledge, that's what I think a lot of people's goals are.
We've also been doing like team triage. So we're reaching out to other teams, and when they need help, like getting ready for the regional, we connect them to someone or we go help them, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, I really like that our team does that. Like our open shop policy, I think it just adds to like what's so great about our team. I'm not trying to sound boastful, but I really like our team.
Yeah, we do have a bunch of teams coming in and out like basically every weekend.
Well, okay, okay, I lied. That wasn't my last question. You brought up a great point. So go a little bit more into that. Like, it seems like an open door policy. I didn't catch what you guys called it. So what is this exactly?
Yeah, so we call it the open shop policy. So our hub as a whole, but our team especially, we focus on making sure everything and all our resources are available to the teams around us who want to utilize them. So we were fortunate enough to have a lot of new equipment come into our shop recently because of a referendum. So we've got a couple of new CNC machines and everything that makes our shop specifically a really, really big resource for our team. So we have teams that will come in simply to like use our resources because they aren't as fortunate to have those things readily accessible. And then teams also come in frequently to get help from our build team, to get advice on programming stuff, to get advice on media programs and stuff like that. So they are welcome to use our practice field. So we let people do that. And then team and department meetings are also kind of open door. So Spudding 6709 is one of the teams we work closest with. And we have people on our practice field constantly. And sometimes people will come in and just come to our weekly team meetings so they can kind of see how we run things and get help if they want to start some programs.
Yeah, and it's not just during the build season, it's actually at competitions too. If teams ask for it, like we will share all of our scouting data with them if they would like it. So we really pride ourselves. Our motto is actually innovation cannot happen in isolation, and our team, we really strive to stay true to that.
So, okay, so when did this open shop policy like become a thing? Is this something that you guys brought to the table, or is it something where it's like, oh no, we've been doing this for a while?
we've had it since we started, and we basically never stopped. I don't know where the idea came from, but like we've always prided ourselves
Yeah.
in like bringing teams in and helping them and like letting them use our machinery, stuff like that.
We just at all costs we just try to avoid siloing because we think that that's just a great way to not do your best. Like building with other people and like learning with other people is the best way to grow.
That is so awesome. Now, it again that is so awesome and I mean very big picture of you guys doing that seriously. So yeah, I'll hand you. I always call it handing flowers. So I'll give you your flowers on that. That's very impressive. So
Thank you.
hats off, claps for you guys. That's fantastic. But before I let you guys go, has what you've done and what you've learned in robotics, has that helped you with maybe what is coming next, if that's college, if that's workforce, anything like that? And if so, what are you thinking of doing in the future?
I definitely have like figured out what I want to do from robotics. So I'm going to Purdue University next year, and I'm going to study philosophy and artificial intelligence on the pre-law track. And I never would have discovered like that I wanted to be a lawyer if it weren't for robotics. And because the position I was put on was basically like, here's a bunch of information. Now go talk to like 40 people. And I was like, okay. So I really just like, and the impact side, obviously, with all the writing and the presenting, like, it's just something that I'm super passionate about. And I know most people aren't that interested in research, writing, and speaking, but I super am. So I don't know. And the artificial intelligence part was definitely based off robotics too, because I would have saw that and went, that sounds like something I would do if I hadn't like been around all these people.
I think the thing that's impacted me most from robotics is probably the mentors. So I joined the Minnesota Army National Guard, and the reason that I felt more like comfortable doing that is because one of our lead coaches, Joe, he's actually in the National Guard. And I was kind of debating it, and then I saw, well, he lives a normal life. He can spend this much time out of robotics and like teaching us all these cool things. Like that definitely makes me feel more comfortable with like pursuing this path in life. And then Jess, the impact mentor, she's a nuclear medicine technologist. And I'm like, what the heck is that? I've never heard of that before. And she kind of told me about like what it is and the kind of the radiology field. And that's actually what I plan to study is radiological sciences at NDSU. Starting next year.
Yeah. So obviously I'm still a sophomore, so I don't know exactly what gonna do. I'm looking at Air Force, but I think so far from the program, what I've gotten is confidence because of impact. Because coming into the team, impact was not what I was looking to be involved with, but I got in there, I worked on some editing with them, and I'm hooked because I get to see and be exposed to so many other teams. I get to do so much community outreach and even just giving presentations and writing and edit. Like it's skills that have helped me gain confidence in my ability to communicate proficiently and just be a well-rounded person in the workforce, which helps me gain confidence that I could be successful in something like the military. That feels a little daunting to go into. And then too, I'm involved with some of the mechanical side of things on the team. And that's helped me see that I want to do something with mechanics when I leave school. I think it's super interesting. So
that is awesome. I always love because I'll say this: I didn't even know robotics was a thing 2 years ago. Started doing the show with your live event, everything else, but it's always so interesting to see like the game itself. It's fun, it's fantastic, but everything else going on behind it and how like it is so interesting to see how the students, you guys are like, man, you guys grew up quick. I look at it, I go, I would have loved to do this. I would have loved to see what would have happened X, Y, Z. But man, it's so crazy. It was so awesome talking to all three of you. It was really truly a pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, with that being said, again, thank you guys. Thank you for joining me, and for everybody else, stay tuned.
Engineering, architecture, land surveying, environmental services. We have the experience to tackle all manner of projects. Widseth is known as a firm that is solid, agile, and versatile. And that's the kind of reliability you can expect when you engage us on your project.
They are invested in our community. They are invested with our people. They're going to create a product that's going to exceed our expectations every single time. That is why we go with Widseth.
At Enbridge, we believe sustainability is the foundation of our success. How well we perform as a steward of our environment, a safe operator of essential energy infrastructure, a good neighbor, and a diverse employer defines our success. Learn more about Enbridge's environmental, social, and governance commitments and our Indigenous Reconciliation Plan at enbridge.com.
A foundation forged in their grandfather's shop. Matt and Mike Martins know firsthand the value of quality machinery. At Martins Welding and Machine, they rely on 3 generations of knowledge and expertise in creating quality products for farmers, ranchers, residents, and businesses across North Dakota and beyond. To browse their full selection of bin caps, bale feeders, rock lifts, disc attachments, and more, visit martinswelding.com. Also ask about their garage doors. Martins Welding and Machine. Matt and Mike will make it right.
This is Chris from RDK Enterprises, your local precision planting dealer. Manage what you can to overcome what you cannot. Farming is all about preparing your operation to be successful when given an opportunity. Invest a few minutes and bring in your seed meters to be reconditioned and calibrated. We have some room, so give us a call and we can help you overcome those simple obstacles. RDK Enterprises, 636-2119 or planterdoc.com.
Gordon Construction of Mahnomen is a Native American-owned business proudly operating on the White Earth Indian Reservation since 1983. As a bonded general contractor, Gordon Construction provides years of experience in large, detailed, and within-budget projects. Gordon Construction is committed to the safety of its employees and the environment of its work sites. To learn more about Gordon Construction of Mahnomen, visit gcmahnomen.com or call 218-935-2191.
Welcome back to the Year Live Event Robotics Show. I am here with Olaf from Team 3102 Techno Tigers. Always love talking with Olaf. I will say this. I'm going to give you I always say give you your flowers, right, on this one.
Thank you.
Last time we spoke, you said something at the end where I was like, oh my goodness, it was such a perfect way of like wrapping this up in a bow, where it was, we were talking about, leaving the kids with something else just besides like, hey, you did this robotics thing, and what are they carrying on in the future with it? And you mentioned that you take a lot of pride for, helping like the kids that are coming out of robotics are the future workforce that you like want to hire. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my goodness, that is so perfect, and that's so right. And ever since then, it really has been like so many more teams and so many mentors have been kind of echoing that same thing. And I've been definitely saying like, no, Olaf has like a perfect way of saying it. And it was funny because one, I was like, man, I forgot who I heard this from. And somebody just totally went, no, that's something Olaf would definitely say. So like,
Oh, nice.
so I got to give you your flowers before we start. So
Thank you.
it was awesome. But let's with that being said, let's actually talk about the Arkansas Regional like 3-4 weeks ago. How was that for you guys?
It went great. We had a blast. So we traveled down to Arkansas, and it is a smaller regional. There were 28 teams there. But the cool thing about it is there were 28 teams there from 10 different states. So really an awesome melting pot. And so our students were communicating with kids and working alongside of and networking with students from 10 states. All right, tell me another activity where that happens. And from all different size schools. A lot of schools up here in the Northern Minnesota Robotics Conference are small schools. We graduate, Nevis is going to graduate 38 kids. We're down there meeting and communicating and visiting with students from 10 different states, and it doesn't come up often, but it'll come up like, well, how big of a school are you from? Or how many kids are in a graduating class? And we say, well, 38. And their jaws hit the floor. And they're like, what? That's impossible. There's no such thing. Well, yeah, there is. What we think is normal here, you travel throughout the nation, and it's not normal. And so that's a valuable part of the lesson as well. So 28 teams from 10 states. The competition was tough. I mean, tough. Last year we went down there were about 30 teams competing, and their little kind of the little flower in their hat was 17 of those 30 eventually ended up at Houston. So you talk about a loaded field. So it's great to see that talent in that competition. We performed very well. I mean, super well. I was fired up. We, at the end, our robot, we were the 5th place Alliance captain. So as you know, the top 8 ranked become Alliance captains for finals. And we ended up being ranked 5th. So with some powerhouses from all over the nation, we came in 5th. Very, very proud of that. We ended up choosing a team that we actually chose last year. It's called Lakota, and they're out of, and I won't remember the correct town, but it's in the Cincinnati area. And it just so happened that we were an Alliance captain last year. We were like the 8th place Alliance captain last year. We chose Lakota. And then the data this year, because we scout and we crunch numbers, we ended up choosing them to join us again. So it was a back-to-back years being on an Alliance going into finals. The other team we picked up was a team called Boss, and they're out of Arkansas. And again, I'm sorry, there's 10 different states with 10 different tones, and who knows? So a lot of networking. We went out and did well. This year's game is insanely physical. Oh my gosh. I mean, we're getting memos directly from FIRST saying, hey, there's a lot of damage happening to the field. There's a lot of damage happening to robots. We don't want to make a rule change, but please be kind of cognizant of the damage. There's a lot of time and money and effort in these machines, and it is hard on them. We had, prior to our match where we got knocked out, we took a hit so hard that it broke welds. So our superstructure, or we call it our mast, it's on our elevator mechanism, came off the field in 4 pieces. Broke welds. We had 10 minutes to get it back together. So it was some zip screws and some cross fingers, and it went back out, and the objective was just don't fall off and get our power shut off. And maybe we can go out and run a little interference. We knew we couldn't do anything. All we could do was drive. So we got beat. And that's what happens. But experience was awesome. The crew of kids we brought down were incredible. They were full of energy. The networking, this day and age, it is a global world. It's an international world. And with the students and their ability to communicate and network, just like us as adults,
Right.
we pull in and there's kids coming up to our kids from across the parking lot. Hey, so-and-so, how you doing? You made it. It's great. And they're friends. So what's the lesson here? It's a small world. You can go anywhere, do anything. So we had a fabulous experience. And that's a big reason we travel. We're competing in St. Cloud tomorrow. It'll be the first time we competed in Minnesota in 5 regionals.
Okay. So
just the way it worked.
And actually, if you don't mind, because I don't want to break any stride that you're going on here, because
no, that's fine.
Fantastic. But like, what is like you just said, it's your first regional in 5 regionals. What is going into those decisions of like, instead of this regional in Minnesota or North Dakota or closer to home, let's travel out? Is it just the world experience point of view, or is it something else?
No, we value that. We had kids that have never been more than an hour or 2 from home.
Yeah.
These small town America, that's pretty common. Ask a teacher and say, how many kids in your classroom have ever really been very far away from home? And it would shock you as an adult, just how they don't. So those experiences, it is what you make it, and our objective is, as mentors, is we want to get them out and broaden their horizons and let's go see people. I tell the story. We went down to Arkansas last year for the first time. Honestly, you want to know why we did it? We drew a circle and how far could we drive in one push? And south. We wanted to go to nicer weather. And we didn't want to go to, north.
Last year, that was a really smart move.
Yeah. So we're like, how far can we drive in one real hard, long push in school vans and get to nicer weather? And Arkansas was it. But didn't know anything about it. Didn't know anybody there. So we roll in as coaches. You've been around long enough in robotics. There's a networking and a friendship. This again, when I coached athletics, and I still do coach athletics, the coaches and you shake hands and say hi and good luck and good game afterwards, but that's it. In robotics, we know each other. In fact, I'm sitting here, my phone's lighting up with text messages from mentors I'm going to compete with tomorrow, or against, I should say. So anyway, we roll into Arkansas, and our students look at us as adults. They look at us as their teacher. They look at us as a parent or whatever, that we have the answers. And the kids walk up and go, well, how do we do this? How do we do this? And we go, I don't know. Walk up to someone, be nice, be polite, stick out your hand, introduce yourself, and ask a question. And surprise, 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 it works. And it gets reciprocated. And that lesson right there, we're good. That's why we do it. That's why we do it.
And again, it just like we were talking about at the very beginning, it really is just that extra, tool in the toolbox that you can carry on throughout the rest of your life. That is huge. So no, I applaud you for taking those, because it is a risk. Like you said, it's some kids, you don't know how some kids are going to react just going out of an hour and a half, anything like that.
Yep. And it just opens their eyes. It's a great big world, and people are pretty darn good. It's, go be nice. And guess what? Yeah.
No, absolutely. Now, I asked this question to you this last year as well, but you were out in Arkansas. Yep. What type of food did you eat?
Oh my gosh. We have a family that travels with us. So we kind of got this down to a science. We're getting pretty good at traveling. So what we do as a team, and every team does this different, but we collect grocery money from our families. We're like, hey, you got to throw this much money in, for your student, and it's going into groceries. And then we have a family that travels with us and cooks for us.
Oh, okay.
And when we travel, we've evolved to where we rent houses. So in Arkansas, we had 4 houses rented. They happened to be on the same block. Well, at 6 a.m., breakfast was served in the biggest house. And this family that travels with us is mom and dad, and then a friend of theirs. They were up bright and early, and they had hot breakfast ready to rock and roll at 6 a.m. So the students come on in for breakfast. During the day at the event, they're out tailgating in the parking lot. They brought a gas, a propane Blackstone cooktop, and they're making custom quesadillas in the parking lot. We got this figured out. When, we come home from the venue at night, that we know our calendar, our schedule, it's like, okay, we'll get out of there. And by the time we get back to the houses, it'll be 7:30. Supper's ready. They made wood-fired personal pizzas one night for us. We got this figured out.
Wood-fired pizza, that's swanky.
Not bad, huh? Mm-hmm. Okay. And we're in houses, and so you're not crammed into a hotel room. You're not hopefully in the lounge or the lobby or taking over a hallway. And no, we just gather in the largest house. Oh, and the weather's nice in Arkansas, so we're sitting outside on the porch. You asked why we go. Well, there's some reasons why.
Right. No, I was going to say it sounds like a fantastic robotics vacation, if you will. Yeah. So no, but like you said, you got it down to a science. That's some pretty good science there. Now you brought it up in your description there, but okay, so you guys you're renting houses, you go and meet at the largest house. Is it just your team? Is it just Nevis, or is it like, oh, hey, we're jamming together like 2 other teams? So it's just
us.
Cool.
That's how many we traveled with. We were all down to Arkansas with, I forget what it was, 25 people. So between students and adults, we had 25 bodies. And this particular year, right now, our team, male, female, we traveled with about a dozen girls and maybe a half a dozen boys. That's our makeup of our team this year for male, female. So the boys had a house with a chaperone, and the girls had 3 with chaperones. So, yeah.
That is awesome. That is so okay. So because I'm guessing majority of the teams are just going to Grand Forks. It's just we're in the same hotel as 5 other teams and everything else like that. Yep. Do they come up to you hey, where you guys stay? And you're just we got this down to a science. We're in houses.
Yeah, actually, so there's a for the Arkansas Regional, there's a Slack channel they put out for all the attendees who are going to be coming, for all the mentors. And the hosts of the whole shebang, as people say, what's lodging look like? What are options? Are well, there's these, you can obviously Google some motels, but, Techno Tigers, they rent houses. You might want to check into that. So it's kind of common knowledge there too. And so, we've made a lot of friends. We've met a lot of great people just after, now after 2 years, but even after 1 year. Yep.
Okay. No, that's still, again, it's one of those work, you don't have to work harder if you're working super smart type of deals. Yeah. But, going kind of circling back to the Arkansas Regional, we were talking beforehand. You mentioned something about an article.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So prior to going to Arkansas, we've been busy. So during the second week of build season, how about this for timing? Second week in January, the Minnesota School Board Association hosts their annual conference down at the Convention Center in Minneapolis. And they bring in school board members and superintendents from the entire state. And it's a multi-day conference. It's a convention. And part of the convention is they have an exhibit hall. And so there are people there selling anything from food service things to playground equipment to playground balls to, accounting firms, architectural firms, you name it. I mean, think of what a school needs as a business. There are vendors there. It's a convention. And for years, they've done a thing they call schools of excellence. And the School Board Association throws out a communication to all superintendents in Minnesota and says, hey, do you have something unique or successful in your district that would be a good thing to feature as a school of excellence? We bring in 6, 8, 10 somethings a year, and they get a booth in the exhibition hall that board members can walk by and see what kids are doing and what's working, what's going good. Well, in about, I suppose, 2016, 17, our superintendent kind of nominated us and we got chosen. So we brought a van load of kids down in a robot and set up a little booth at a convention and presented for a couple hours. Well, at the end of the day, or when it was all over, the School Board Association contacted us and said, that was cool. Will you come back? We're like, okay. So we went back a second year. Well, guess what? At the end of the second year, they got a hold of us and said, you're coming again, right? Well, okay, we'll come again. Then COVID hit. They didn't have the convention. Be 3 years ago now. Their fall magazine came out talking about the upcoming convention, and there was an article in there on schools of excellence. Well, guess who the picture was? It was a picture of us. And so our superintendent catches me in the hallway with the magazine. He holds up to me. He's like, hey, you recognize anybody in this picture? It's like, no, that's cool. That's a nice compliment. They put our picture in there and using us to promote their gig. So as mentors, we get to talking like, that was pretty cool. And that's a good thing. And we're being creative and talked to some other mentors in our friend group and our mentorship, in the NMRC, and said, let's turn this up a notch. So we got a hold of the organizers and said, we'd like to come down again, but how about we bring a playing field, we bring field elements, and we bring a handful of schools from throughout the state, and we do a presentation for the whole convention. And they're like, okay. And so we went through a series of meetings and logistics and how exactly this is going to work. And we did it last year. We brought down 6 schools. We set up, we were there for the entire convention. We have, the line out of kids, and each school brought down a handful of students as ambassadors, brought their robots down. And as board members are walking by, our kids are just like catching them. They're just grabbing them. Hey, you want to drive a robot? Want to drive a robot? Want to drive a robot? And so I'm telling you, we got 25 kids standing there as the most incredible ambassadors promoting our activity to the decision makers at every school district in the state of Minnesota. Pretty sweet. And it went great. Afterwards, it was like, wow, that was a great adventure. And the School Board Association says, will you come back next year? Like, sure. Yeah, we'll come back. So here we go again in January, second week of build season. We pack it all up. We brought down a handful of schools from throughout Minnesota. And again, through the whole convention, they're talking to board members. Not only talking to board members, when the attendees are at their workshops and their meetings, what do you think all of the vendors are doing? Well, they're kind of standing around their booths. Well, the next thing you know, we've got all the vendors coming over driving robots and talking to our students about robotics. So it went fabulously. Super cool. So 3102, we've been there 5 times. Went great. Thanks. Awesome experience. Well, shortly thereafter, the NMRC got a communication from the editor of their newsletter, their magazine they put out quarterly, I think, and said, anybody willing to write an article on what works? Oh, the title of it is What's Right with Public Education. And the message got to me and I'm like, sure, I'll write an article. So I got in contact with their person and you know, it's kind of a compliment. We've been working hard to this. I told my superintendent just in passing, like, hey, this is cool. What a nice compliment. They want us to write an article. And I said, sure, I'll write an article. And he looks at me and he says, well, could I co-author that with you from an administrative standpoint? I'm like, you want to? Yeah, let's do it. Reached back out to School Board Association, said, how about this? Can I run it past you? And they're like, great idea. Well, just submitted the article last week. In fact, I was just dealing with emails this morning about format and this, that, and the other thing, and they're going to send a proof in the near future. And so anybody listen to this, talk to your school board members and say, there is going to be a robotics specific article in the next magazine, just because of our students and what fabulous ambassadors they were and the impression they left on the state of Minnesota.
Right. Right. Yeah, I keep on bringing it back to what we talked about at the very beginning, but like you said, like just the kids being fantastic ambassadors and being personable enough and being confident in themselves. I think that's a huge thing where you can just go, hey, look, there's a guy in a suit, grab him. What's up? You want to drive a robot?
Yep.
That is so big. Now, real quick, we have been bouncing all over the timeline here.
Sure.
Talked past, then even more in the past. Let's talk about some future stuff. You said tomorrow you're down in, sugar.
St. Cloud, Granite City Regional. It's the inaugural first year event, St. Cloud Civic Center. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yep, man, we'll be there. We're not there tonight. We're opting to commute. It's a 2-hour drive. We're going to drive back and forth each day. Saves hotel bills, saves rental on a house. So, yeah, we're going to take off at 5:30 in the morning tomorrow. We'll be standing outside the door by 7:30 Friday morning.
Bad, not bad. Now, what has, you explained a pretty bad, injury or malfunction or something, thing. I'm not sure how we want to classify it, but what has it looked like from Arkansas now to tomorrow? I mean, is robot completely good to go, or are we still let's just cross our fingers?
Robot's rocking. It's another new robot. This is version 3. We took it down to the drive modules and had to rebuild it.
So what caused what in Arkansas, or what have you learned since version 2?
Yeah, great question.
Version 3.
Yeah, great question. So every year, I mean, there's a huge difference between a week 1 event and a week 6 event. Week 1 event, everybody's just trying to figure the game out. Like, everything's important. Well, by week 6, you're like, no, the points aren't worth it. And actually, by the end of week 1, people have already figured out, okay, ignore that aspect. That takes too long. Even the best teams in the world are skipping it because they can score so many more points doing this other element. Yep. Okay. So we did learn that. On this year's game, it's just, and again, this shouldn't be a big surprise. It's about cycle time. It's getting back and forth up and down that field and scoring a game piece. Doesn't matter what the game piece is. I mean, if you only score 2 game pieces, not enough. All right. There's teams out there scoring 8, 10, 12. Nobody's out there scoring 20. I mean, that in general doesn't happen, but it's about cycle time and back and forth. No matter what the game is, acquisition of the game piece, how fast can you do it? Every year it's a little bit different. If the game pieces are, if there's a lot of them and they're laying on the floor, get them off the floor. If there's a limited number and the only place to get them is what we in slang call a human feed station, but I mean, from the source, whatever that is. Well, then you have a traffic situation and you got to get in and get out, and you got to run the length of the floor. Well, guess what? This game is very similar. There are pieces on the floor. There are misses. There are pieces on the floor in the very beginning of the game, but those get exhausted quickly. So you got to run. So we don't even have a floor pickup. We're all about run back and forth, get it as fast as possible. Down and back, down and back, down and back. Yeah. And we went to Arkansas, we didn't have a floor acquisition. We just said, we're going to run. And when you run, there's two sides of the coin. Yes, if there's a piece on the floor and you're proficient and you can grab it, you're going to be faster. If that piece is 4 feet from the goal and I got to run 54 feet, you're going to beat me. This year's game, there just aren't that many pieces on the floor.
Right.
At least that's our experience. Now, I suppose if you were somewhere where they were just really bad shots, and the ricochets and misses, there might be more on the floor. So you got to take a little gamble now and then. And we gambled to run. Wherever that feed station is, it's always the same. It's always consistent. It's there every single time the exact same way. The floor, it's variable every single time. So, yeah.
No, that's very, the math checks out, but that's so interesting. I haven't heard somebody just being like, yeah, no, we're totally ditching that. I've heard ditching certain other aspect, but the floor game, the floor pickup's an interesting one. But no, that makes a lot of sense. Really, really.
There will be phenomenal machines that can handle the floor.
Yes.
Great. You're going to put 6 machines out there that are great at picking up off the floor, and there's 4 pieces on the floor.
Yeah.
What else are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Sit around and wait for one. And what a lot of teams are doing is they're introducing them to the playing field by just tossing them on the floor because they have a floor pickup. Well, if you toss it on the floor, it might bounce left. It might bounce right. It might slide 6 feet. It might get hung up and lean against the wall. But if we drive right up to that slot, that game piece comes out of that slot pretty much the same way every time. So different philosophies. We could take dead last. Who knows?
Well, I will say this. It's always a pleasure to talk to you all. It's always awesome to hear the stories and how the kids are doing and everything to do with the Techno Tigers. But any last words before we let you go?
St. Cloud's going to be loaded with talent. If you crunch the numbers, I saw some stats the other day that 23% of the robots competing have already been an Alliance captain. They've already been ranked in the top 8 in the event they're at. 1 in 4 robots have already been an Alliance captain. You want to watch some robots and some crazy stuff happen because somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. And with that pool of talent, wow.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. For everybody else, we'll see you later.